In documenting my bookshelves, this is shelf number 2 of my comic art collection. First, they've got the writings and drawings of Bob Dylan. I got this book for my birthday in probably 1973 or so, when I was about 14, 15 years old. And old Bob Dylan has had a big influence on me. Here's an example of one of his drawings. Pretty cool, huh? It's for If Dogs Run Free. Next, it's the slipcase collection of New Direction books from Russ Cochran. This is Impact, with great black and white art inside. There's MD and Valor. Next, we have this monster Jack Kirby Fourth World Omnibus. As you can see, it's quite a large book. It reprints in its entirety the Kirby's Fourth World amazingness. Fun book. Next, we have from the excellent DC Archives edition, the Sergeant Rock Volume 1. These books are in full color, and this reprints the earliest adventures of Sergeant Rock and Our Army at War. Next is my beat-up copy of Chandler by Steranko. This was a copy I found in the wild not long ago at Half Price Books. It's okay. It's kind of a prose story with Steranko art. Not bad. Next is Taboo number 4 with an awesome Mobius cover and a lot of interesting stuff on the inside, including this Mobius story. These are kind of tough to find, and I found it in the wild. I Am Blind and My Dog is Dead by S. Gross. S. Gross is one of my favorite cartoonists. I think he passed just recently, but this is a collection of his interesting cartoons. This is not a comic book, but it's sort of related to it. It's Bertrand Russell's Wisdom of the West, in which he examines all the different philosophers from Aristotle to Sartre, to you name it. And he gives a kind of a précis of their philosophy, and it's pretty interesting reading. And this is Chroma, The Art of Alex Schomburg by John Gustafson. This is a book that came out in the 80s and reprints some of Alex Schomburg's great covers. He was a tremendous artist, kind of a surrealist before his time. And this is the thrilling comic book cover art of Alex Schomburg. It's a Vanguard book. Came out in the aughts, I think. And it's much the same, except a larger reproduction of most of the covers. Fun book. Next is the old standby that should be in everyone's collection, the Smithsonian Book of Comic Book Comics, edited by Michael Barrier and Martin Williams. And this, from Superman, Little Lulu, Scribbly, and Pogo. It reprints some the first, not always the first appearance, but interesting stories by some of the great comic artists. George Carlson, Basil Wolverton, C.C. Beck, Jack Cole. Really a fun book. Next is Richard Starks Parker, The Score, adapted and illustrated by Darwin Cook. There was a series, I think there were 3, and then like a big book reprinting the 4th one. And I just love Darwin's artwork. Next is Monica by Daniel Clowes, his latest from last year. I don't know, it kind of just defies description. Monica is kind of a interesting character who goes through a lot in her life, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's a book that I highly recommend. Next is And Then We'll Get Him by Gan Wilson. This is a collection of his cartoons from, I guess this is probably from the 80s. And if you're not familiar with Gan Wilson, he had work in National Lampoon and Playboy and various other magazines. He had kind of a macabre sense of humor. Yeah, and this is a sketchbook that I keep on hand. I take it to shows and whatnot. And it's got a couple of sketches in it. I had a character that I used to do called Comic Book Shaman, and I asked Val Merrick to give me his impression of what a comic book shaman would look like. And also Pat Broderick. This is The Twilight Children by Beto Hernandez and Darwin Cook, colored by Dave Stewart. Enough said. This is a great book, great story. And this is Incognito by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I know a lot is said about these two. I read about half of this book, and I didn't really get into it that much. It's great looking stuff, and it reads okay. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's just really not my cup of tea. The Best of Josie and the Pussycats. This book was all right. Reprints a lot of Josie and the Pussycat stories. Many by Dan DiCarlo. But I was disappointed in the introduction, and nowhere I could find in here did they mention Dan DiCarlo. It's a Good Life If You Don't Weaken by Seth. This is a novella reprinted from his book Palookaville. Story of, I don't know, this guy, he's like a salesman, and he lives his life kind of reminiscent of Seth himself, I guess. But great story. I highly recommend it. Next is Black Cat Crossing by the great Richard Sala. This is his early work. And it's kind of different from his later stuff, but very creative, very entertaining. Sax Rohmer's Dope, adapted and illustrated by Trina Robbins. This is, I'm a big fan of Trina, and I enjoyed this book. That's about all I can say. This is a beat up old book that I ran across somewhere happily. It's art of Georges Seurat. It's kind of an ex-library book, it looks like. But he was the great pointillist at the end of the 1800s and early 1900s. Yeah, I really enjoy his artwork. Next, stuck in the bookcase is this package of odds and ends. An old Christmas card, hand-colored a little bit by Gus Areola, and another of his famous postcards, and my signed autograph photo of Dan DeCarlo with Betty number 8 there on his drawing board. Liz Bailey was an indie artist back in the aughts. She did a lot of work, and I asked her to do a sketch of Power Girl, and she did this punk rock Power Girl. I was very pleased with it. I'm kind of covering up the address here, but I ordered something from Don Gullert, an author who has done a lot of books about comics and comics history, and he sent back I guess I sent him too much money. This is a postage refund. I just decided to keep the sketch with the check with his autograph. Weird, huh? And this is a print of Power Girl by Monica Gallagher, who I met at I think a Staples convention in Austin some years ago. And finally, the other side of the bookcase is held up by this slipcase version of Piracy and the other New Direction books from the New Direction series. Six came from Russ Cochran. There's Piracy, Aces High, Extra, and the very interesting Psychoanalysis comic, which was drawn by Jack Kamen. I hope you enjoyed this video of my bookcase, shelf number 2. And if you like it, go ahead and like it.